Three friends boarded Disney's Galactic Starcruiser to seek their destiny and emerged as heroes of the Halcyon. Hello and welcome to Heroes of the Halcyon, the best, and to the best of our knowledge, only Galactic Starcruiser superfan podcast on the web. I'm Galactic Starcruiser superfan Drew, and with me are...
Superfan Christine.
And Superfan Martin.
Christine, we went on Voyage number 2.
Yes, we did.
And I have to say, since I have the mic right now, I'm going to selfishly say that all those people that we talked to who went on 2 voyages and said the second voyage was better than the first, were right.
It's all
Totally right.
true.
It's all true. It's all true, yes. And I couldn't believe it. I was so worried going into the voyage. It was amazing. And I think there's a special momentous occasion that we're celebrating with this episode, aren't we, Christine?
Absolutely. So, since we just did our second cruise, everyone, welcome to the second season of Heroes of the Halcyon.
Air horn!
Yeah!
So, yes, tons of guests coming up. We've got our roundtables that we're going to be putting together, and just so much information between now and Voyage number 3.
Yeah, I'm excited. We've scheduled the next, month and a half of interviews.
Yep.
We've got some bangers. That's a word that we frequently use to describe our really, really good episodes. But we have several really great guests. We're super excited. And we thought season 2 would be a great way to differentiate for the first season. So here we are.
Here we are.
Take it away.
What we wanted to do with this episode is our original plan was to do just an information dump. Just go through basically our entire voyage and take you on a journey with us every step of the way. So we all got together, started to go through pictures and that conversation and decided, 3.5 hours of us talking about our voyage is probably not the most engaging podcast.
And we weren't even done yet.
So in lieu of that, we are going to give you our top 3 experiences on Voyage number 2. So, to start us off, Drew, what's your number 3?
My number 3 moment from the second voyage was something that we didn't do a lot the first voyage. The first voyage, we had high hopes of going to the Sublight Lounge and having a cocktail, picturing ourselves drinking amongst the people who were enjoying this experience. And yeah, we didn't do that. We just went to bed and were tired and crashed. So this voyage, we actually made an effort to go to the bar, and it was fabulous. Both nights, the Sublight Lounge was maybe half full. Mm-hmm. I mean, the last night it was even less people.
And we closed it down on night 2.
And we closed it down on night 2. On night 1, we pretty much closed it down because there was one other group that was back. So unless somebody else came up after we left around 11:45 midnight, maybe they got the last hour. But it was so much fun. The things that made it super fun were we got to meet not only fellow passengers, but we also got to spend time with Brooke.
Yes.
Shout out to you, Brooke. I hope you listen. If crew members are listening and you want to talk to Brooke and let her know that we love her, let her know we love her.
Brooke is a legend.
Yeah, so it was fun. She was super helpful, but she gave us a little bit of backstory and behind-the-scenes stuff that was really interesting. But it was really cool to see how her voyage in space aboard in the Sublight Lounge was something that she experienced. It made my number 3 moment of our trip. So, Martin, what's your number 3 moment of our second voyage?
Well, something that's fun about doing a second voyage, you know how to look for things that you didn't know to look for on your first voyage. And it was just a little moment that we had heard happens that I wasn't aware of on our first trip. And when Christine and I were done with our missions on Batuu, we had finished all of the stuff we did, and we were on the transport to go back. We were almost by ourselves. It was like an empty transport. And then a crew member comes in with a crate and says, "We need you to transport this crate from Hondo Ohnaka up to the Halcyon. Will you do that for us?" And we actually got picked to do the secret transport of the coaxium crate from Batuu up to the ship. And they said, make sure that the crew member is there to receive it, or someone. And I was like, if there's no crew member here to get this crate, we're taking this crate. But that was just a lot of fun to actually be a part of something that we had heard of since our first voyage, but hadn't had a chance to see.
Yeah.
So Christine, your number 3 moment.
Okay, so my number 3 was actually crazy cool for the podcast. And while we were on Batu, we actually had 2 separate groups of people come up and say, hey, heroes of the Halcyon. And that was just amazing that we had people that actually recognized us from the podcast, wanted to stop and wanted to talk. And I don't think you can understand how important that is for us to know that we're a part of your journey too. Even if it's, listening in the beginning before you go on Starcruiser so that you get a little bit of the, tips and a little bit of the insight before you go, or it's, joyous reunions whenever we all get together and talk about how much we've loved being on the Starcruiser. Either way, we are so excited to talk to you. So if there is ever an opportunity where you see us in Batu or any other opportunity, please stop us and say hello. So when we were down on Batu, we ran into Amy and Ben, who were actually there prior to their voyage. They were actually getting on the ship, I believe, the next day. And then we also got to meet Nicole and Brian.
They were such cool cats.
Yeah, who were part of our voyage. So it was amazing. We love it. Okay, so Drew, what is your number 2?
My number 2 started within 10 minutes of us getting out of our cab, or our Uber or Lyft, whatever we did when we went.
Our transport.
Yeah, we didn't take a limo this time. We figured a limo for the first voyage was probably conspicuous spending enough, and we wanted to spend some of that money on drinks in the sublight. So we got off the transport. We gave the luggage over to the crew. The crew came over and were super awesome. They gave us our magic bands, and then they leaned in conspiratorially, and she said to us, Lenka would like to speak with you, so please make sure that you're a member of Muster Group Creche. And I think I peed. I mean, it was so exciting that I had no idea. Lenka's going to want to talk to us. Lenka knows who we are and is going to want to talk to us.
We weren't in the front door yet.
Yeah, it was crazy.
There was only one other group there in that first row. Mm-hmm. And as a really quick aside, the way that they line you up ahead of time is so much better than it was in March. In March, we had the typical Z snaking back and forth Disney line. This time they had actual corrals that we would go into, corral 1, 2, 3, and 4. We would all line up in those, and they took each group at a time, which was great. But before even people were there, Lenka wanted to talk to us. So, of course, we lined up at muster, and we were very excited, and we didn't quite know what was happening. But a crew member came over and said, Cruise Director Lenka would like to let you know that you have been chosen as our hyperspace family. And for those of you who don't know, at the beginning of the voyage, and this isn't a spoiler, a family is chosen to be the people who launched the Halcyon into hyperspace to kick off the voyage. We got to be that family.
We were that family.
I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it. I mean, it was. And again, you don't want to cry on day one. Crying is for day 2. so when they came early a little bit before the time in the show when they say, and now we want the Smith family, which is totally appropriate because that's what the reservation was under, which makes perfect sense. We want the Smith family to send us into hyperspace. And there was a PhotoPass photographer who was there to take a picture to memorialize the event. And
Halcyon medallions?
Yeah, they gave us Halcyon medallions to commemorate the event, and just such an amazing thing, and it was so cool. So, Martin, what is your number 2 moment of Voyage number 2?
One of the great things between Voyage 1 and 2 is the people that we've met in the Starcruiser community, some of even the Starcruiser crew, and there is one special Starcruiser crew member, crucial crew member Jay. Folks that listen to our podcast have known that we really just absolutely love this guy, and there's the way that we found each other and this connection that we have. It's sensational. So we opened, the doors of the shuttle open. We're walking onto the Halcyon atrium, and boy, it's just like we're home.
We're home, absolutely.
It's the Chewie we're home moment.
100%.
It's fantastic. And who's standing there? Jay, crucial crew member, right there, waiting to bring us aboard the Halcyon. And for the folks who know, that's not what Jay typically does. And it was so fun to have Jay be allowed to step into this different role just briefly. And he was the one that was able to welcome us on board, take us to our cabin, show us the ship, and he crushed it.
Oh, yeah.
He absolutely
yes, he did.
Crushed it. And we were very trying to test him. Is like, how in universe are you with this?
We weren't trying to test him. It just I was buzzing with excitement. And when the elevators closed, because we took the elevator up to our room, we were on deck 7. When the elevator doors closed in the atrium, I stepped in and I said, "It's so cool that you get to go with us, Jay." And he said, "I don't know what you're talking about, sir." And I wasn't trying to test him. I was just so excited. But he didn't break character at all. He smiled a little bit, but he was on.
He was absolutely so much fun to see him, and not only see him again, but to see him in this different light, in this different role on Starcruiser. And what a perfect way to launch into Voyage 2 with a friend.
Always the consummate professional.
Absolutely. And I will say that when he was done giving the spiel in the room, and he said, "All right, so enjoy your voyage." At that moment, since we're off stage, I was like, "Jay, you got to come in with us. This is so great." And it was so good. And again, just to reiterate, Jay was the crew member that we interviewed. I don't have the episode number, but in season 1, episode 14 or 15 or something, he's the person we interviewed. And have we ever told the story on the podcast of how we met him on Twitter? I don't think we have.
I don't know that we did.
Yeah, so really, really quick, just to tell the story, because it was so much fun. When we got off Voyage 1, to commemorate our experience, Martin made the card back figures that several of you have received, and several of you, have seen his artwork and how he makes these. And we were posting them on Twitter, and Jay posted and said, "Well, what about me, the crucial crew member?" And I immediately texted Martin. I was like, "Oh, we need to get this guy a card back."
And it was already done.
And Martin said, "You mean this one right here?" And so that introduced us to Jay, and it was just so much fun. And we've kept in contact ever since, and it's been a great relationship.
Yeah.
And we were able to meet him at the Star Wars Celebration. And something else is that we were actually able to meet another crew member at Celebration.
Yes. On the floor near the exhibit for Galactic Starcruiser, we ran into Sandy. And she was in full costume. She was there with her boyfriend who works on Batu. And it was so funny because it had been fairly fresh since we had left the ship. And
we were in full costume that day.
We were in full costume just like we were. And she said something to the effect of, "Oh my gosh, weren't you just on Starcruiser?" And I was like, how does this girl know that? So it was amazing to be able to run into somebody like that and automatically get that Starcruiser feeling again.
And so to run into her on Starcruiser, it was just so much fun to just see these old friends again, and in this perfect environment, this environment that they're so good at. They just command the space so well that was absolutely my Starcruiser moment number 2. Christine, what's your Starcruiser top 2 moment?
So my number 2 is going to be for during our bridge training. So to keep it spoiler free for anyone who hasn't done it yet.
There's a bridge.
There's a bridge and there's training on it. And there's an opportunity, depending on when your bridge training is, that characters may come to pass throughout your time. I was selected by the character that was there at the time to come put the ship into hyperspace with them. So I got to take us to hyperspace twice.
In one day.
In one day, which was amazing.
And what I love about that is because we were very careful. We never tried to look at people and go, "Don't you realize we're the heroes of the Halcyon?"
No.
So we were very sensitive because we don't want to stand. We didn't want to call attention to ourselves specifically. Right. But how it happened was, Christine, you just literally, there was no planning on your part because they're rotating the crew around.
Right.
You start at one station, and then you start at another station, and then another station. And it just so happened that you were back at the shield table, and you caught that character's eye line and were chosen.
She's super, in her makeup and costume, she's super visible, but she was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. And in a similar fashion, Zachary was chosen. My son was chosen by Croy during our first version.
Right.
And so, again, it just the luck of the draw, but how lucky was that, Christine?
So amazing. And it was super funny because as part of it, the character says, before we do this, tell everybody, who you are. And so in character, I was able to say that I was, Maleficent, captain of the Starship Aurora. And they were very happy that I was a captain because obviously I could help take us into hyperspace.
No, that was great.
Okay, so everybody's number 2. We're heading right to number 1, and it just gets more and more intense. I'm so excited. So, Drew, what is your number 1?
With my number 1 moment, there are several missions that happen on the ship that are driven by the data pad. The data pad, you'll get a message, air quote, from character X that's telling you to go do thing Y, and that usually involves scanning into the computer and coordination with your phone. And so those missions are fun. I very much enjoy this, but the real meat of this particular delicious stew are the missions that you get when you run into somebody and you have just kind of a private moment. And I won't tell you characters again because we're trying to avoid spoilers, with the exception of maybe one moment a little bit later. But in one of those moments, a character came to us at dinner. We asked the character, Martin asked the character, how can we help you? And at that moment, the character's like, oh, well, you actually can. I need you to meet me down in the cargo hold at 7:45. So now we got a private meeting with this character, and it's a character that we've been very excited to interact with. We hadn't previously interacted with this person on Voyage 1. I accidentally walked into this mission on Voyage 1 and got sent away, and so now I got to have the mission, which is super exciting. So at 7:45, I went down. Martin and Christine and Patty, our friend who was with us, they were doing some other missions because they got some coinciding things and had a moment of crisis. And the captain said, where's your crew? And I said, well, they're coming. They'll be here. The character said, well, I guess we know who we can trust. So that was very fun. And we got the patented reach behind their back and press the button. So I was super excited about that. We had the mission with this character, and it was a very fun story moment. And Martin and Christine and Patty came not toward the end, so they got it. And we're walking out of the cargo hold, and we see another character walk by. And that other character was walking by with Chewbacca. And I was like, oh, we need to follow this character. And we all said, yes, we do. And so we followed this character and had another private mission. And that one was a little bit more fully populated. Instead of the mission in the cargo hold where there's only, 6 of us, this mission with this other character was more highly populated, but it was still really fun.
If Chewbacca's there, it's going to be popular.
Oh, right, exactly. Where Chewbacca goes, fun comes with him. So we had that story moment, which was super fun. And we're leaving engineering, and we run into the Saja. I realized this is my chance to engage this story moment. So I did it. So there's some ways that you can ingratiate yourselves with the Saja. And the Saja recognized me and made locked eyes and said, all right, Zoran, I feel that you are somebody we can trust and we need to help. And in fact, come with me. And the Saja took us over to the brig. And we had, within 20 minutes, our third dedicated mission with somebody. And the second Saja came by, and the first Saja pulled Saja 2 into the brig and said, we need to talk. And so we had this other story moment. And it coming from the first voyage, where on night 1 we were kind of lost souls, to come into this and just relax and recognize that the secret is just when you see somebody, follow them, talk to them, ask them how you can help them. Mm-hmm. It was magic.
It was superstar bingo. Superstar bingo. Just from one to the next. And again, it's the missions that we love the best. Where the tap on the shoulder.
Oh, the tap on the shoulder.
The tap on the shoulder is just incredible. Just come with me.
Yeah, and
that's where the magic happens.
It is, and again, the way the magic happens is you don't have to be, look at me, guy with a visor and things stuck to your forehead, or you don't have to look like George Lucas, or you don't have to look like a green twinkle. You just have to make a connection by talking to the people and just letting them know you're there for them, and they will find a way to make the voyage happen for you. And that's my number 1 moment of Voyage 2 was awesome. Those 3 interactions. Yeah. It was so great. So Martin, let's hear your number 1.
I had several moments that kind of are encompassed together, but for this voyage, I really put a lot of effort before we went into kind of setting up how deep does this rabbit hole go? How deep will the characters and the cast follow you on different storylines that you set up before you arrive? And again, I'm super careful. Don't interrupt anyone else's voyage, but give them story threads that they can attach to, or if they choose, the cast. And they absolutely, we weren't even out of the security room where you watch the security video and they're already talking about Jorg Sakul, the Galaxy famous Holovid director. And, I had done that 5-minute character introduction video, and it's 5 minutes of nothing but
But amazing if you haven't seen it yet.
But
Go to YouTube.
it's nothing but character setups. Anyone that's been on Starcruiser that watches that 5-minute video can see it's nothing but moments to set up with characters, that they can engage me with if they chose. And they had a dedicated crew of people on this voyage that were Jorg Sakul superfans. And it was just such an incredibly joyous thing to watch these, specifically there was one in particular. I got to give a shout out to Belle. The crew member Belle was Jorg Sakul's biggest fan. And throughout the entire voyage, she loved the one holovid picture that absolutely failed. In my video, his last picture was a disaster and called Polly the Porg, and she was the biggest Polly the Porg fan there was. And throughout the voyage, she would just keep asking questions about this. And I was in the atrium one time, and if this isn't the purest, only on Starcruiser moment you could possibly ever have, I'm sitting there in the atrium, just working through the missions on my data pad, figuring out, okay, where am I going next? And I can hear these 3 crew members walking behind me, arguing over who's the bigger Jorg Sakul fan. And it's just such a blissful moment of validation for this effort that I've put into bringing this character to life. And one of them just stops and just snaps at these other 2 in a very friendly but fun way. You're a fake Jorg Sakul fan. And just it's just the most amazing, everything about this character I've created, Jorg Sakul, is just a wink and a nod to Star Wars fandom. And for them to just give that absolutely quintessential fandom moment back to me, I don't even know if they knew I heard it. They did it so slyly. I did hear it. That's a moment I will cherish forever. So to Belle and every other crew member, they were coming up to me, they put credits in my hand saying that they were starting a petition for a Polly the Porg trilogy, which is the most wonderfully ridiculous, only on Starcruiser moment you could ever hope to have. And that will never be topped. So Christine, you've got an amazing number 1. Let's hear it.
And I need to interrupt. Your moment, Christine, is so amazing that we need to call this a spoiler.
Yes.
So if you have listened to this point, I don't think we've spoiled anything, but I think this mission does have this moment does have the potential to spoil things for folks. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you're probably going to miss Christine's. Just know that it was really awesome.
Really, 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 really awesome. So my number 1, for any of you who listened to us up until now, you knew that Malie Fassant was going on looking for trouble. She's a scoundrel, and she attracts other scoundrels to her. So once I got on the ship, it wasn't too long into night 1 that we started talking to Wraith. During the, between the data pad and during, special missions that he invited us to go on, we ended up basically being invited as, part of his crew. So one of the opportunities for a meetup before the big heist happens, for any of you that are familiar with the heist, he goes to the room of those that he's selected and he gives everybody specific tasks, because this is a big deal. We've got to confuse Croy and create a diversion and make sure that other people in the atrium really don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and Christine, don't forget that while this mission is happening, he does have to make somebody the doorman to make sure that nobody walks in.
True.
So I'm just saying.
And that very special assignment was for Drew.
It was great. And I had a great moment keeping people out of the room and pissing
Door
people
guy.
off. It was really great. Yeah.
But he goes through the room, Wraith goes through the room, and he, gives special assignments. You babysit Sandro, you make sure that this happens, you make sure that that happens. And he selected me to be his right-hand person. And he selected Jorg to be his left hand, because the right hand has to keep track of the left hand. So to be Wraith's right-hand person was epic and everything I could have hoped for. And that was it. I was like, okay, done. This voyage cannot possibly get any better. This is amazing. Let's get to the atrium. Let's do this. So we get up to the atrium. all the pieces start to get pulled together. People are doing hand signals, and everyone's got their, special tasks that they're on to. Every once in a while, Wraith pops by and says, hey, go take care of this, or hey, make sure that happens, or whatever. And we are so in it. We're like, whatever you say, we're done.
Kill that guy? He's dead.
Done. Just don't even blink. It's gone. It's happening. So, what the heist is revolved around is stealing the Hyananea stone out of the ship's compass and replacing it with a fake. So, standing with him over by the compass, he's pushing in all the buttons, trying to get it out, and he says, look, if I get into trouble, I need to slide the stone over to you for you to hold. And I'm like, sure. Goes through it, gets the stone out. He's like, I got it. Oh, Captain Keevan, here. And he slides the stone across the counter, and I stick it in my pocket. And I just stood there for a second like, I have the Hyananea stone in my pocket.
I was seriously worried you were crushing it and you were holding onto it so tight.
I was like, I didn't let go of it. It was in my pocket, but I thought if I let go of it, it would disappear. So there's no way I was letting go of it. So I stood there holding onto the Hyananea stone, trying to pay attention to other things that were happening, just thinking to myself, I'm holding the Hyananea stone.
You did say it inside your head with that voice?
I did. Absolutely, I did. Yeah. Are you kidding me? Yes. There were songs in my head, yes. Yeah. So he goes through his interchange with the captain, comes back over to me and says, do you still have the stone? And I looked at him like, are you nuts? Of course I still have the stone. Come on, Wraith. And he's like, can I have it? Yes. So I handed him the stone back, and he said, you'll get it back. And then he walked away and did his other things. And I was like, okay, so that just happened. I'm like, okay, so I thought being the right-hand man was cool, but like now I'm holding the stone. I get like that part of the heist. I'm like, okay, all right, cool, done. I'm done here. So we all head back down to the room where we're all supposed to meet up again. Everybody that's been part of the heist. And Gaia comes in. So Wraith goes through and he, commends everybody for being, part of the heist and how well it went off and blah, blah, blah. And he goes to, he tells Gaia that he's got the stone, that we were able to retrieve it. And he goes to hand her the stone. But he says to her, I don't think I should be the one to give this to you. And he turns around and he hands the stone to me. And at that moment, I was a Twi'lek. I was from Ryloth. And we had recaptured the singing stone to bring back home. So, of course, I fell apart. I was conscious enough to give the stone back to Gaia. I put it in her hands and said, take it home. And I learned, as I had learned before, when Twi'leks cry, their skin changes color.
That was the most amazing in-universe explanation for that you just pulled out of nowhere. Oh, that was amazing.
That's beautiful.
Oh, that makeup. I mean, I love wearing it. I love dressing up like Maleficent, but the makeup.
Yeah, and that's just to highlight. I mean, all of our number one moments were ways that you can't find in the app. You can't find it in the food. You can't find it in, walking around Batuu.
It's not something you put on a shelf.
Yeah, it's the connections you make with the story, and that comes from working with the characters and interacting with the characters over the experience. It's one of the things that makes this experience so memorable.
And so a huge thank you from Heroes of the Halcyon to the entire Galactic Starcruiser team, the cast, the crew, everyone involved in this incredible experience absolutely knocked it out of the park beyond our wildest expectations on Trip 2. But there's no way that we can ever limit these experiences to just the top three. There's so many. So let's just quick do a rapid fire around the table of some other moments that just really stood out to you. Drew, let's take it away.
I have to say, the second time we went, we actually spent more time, since we weren't worried about getting a particular story path and worrying about what was going to happen. There was no fear of missing out. We actually enjoyed the food. We went to the lunch buffet on first day. Those grilled cheese sandwiches are legit. That flatbread curry pizza thing they have, so freaking tasty. Then the dinners. The first voyage, I thought the food was cool. I was like, A for effort, guys. But, taste-wise, No, this time it was all flippin' good. The shrimp, Martin, you and I devoured that whole plate.
Ourselves.
Yeah, I mean,
5 peoples of shrimp.
Yeah, and we sent back the shrimp the first time because it was a little not so good, but this time it was delicious. The sauces were spectacular. I think we ate the fish. I mean, you guys aren't even fish eaters.
I do not eat fish, but I ate that fish, and I ate a lot of it.
Yeah.
Can we throw a shout out to Nelson? Tell us about Nelson.
Yes, I can. How could I forget about Nelson? So on our first voyage, we had a wonderful server, and he was good, and it was lots of fun. On the second voyage, we changed our seating position. We were in a different location because we were 5 people instead of 4, so we couldn't sit in a booth. And our server shows up, and it's Nelson. It's the same server that we had the first voyage, and he immediately recognized you both. Again, there's benefits to going with people who dress very distinctly. Everyone out there, but he immediately recognized you and was like, "Oh, you're back!" And we like to think that by saying you're back, he just knew that in universe we were on the voyage before the 275th voyage. So it was great to see him again, and he gave us again immaculate service.
Yes.
So the food and Nelson, I cheated with 2 there. That's the quick for my rapid fire.
For me, another fun moment that we had was on Batu. We met up with Crucial crew member Jay. Came in on his day off, just in universe, with a great, Disney, Star Wars bounding outfit. And we got to all meet up at Oga's. And I gotta say, after Galaxy's Edge has been open a while, and we go to Oga's like every time we're there. I had been kind of Oga'd out a little teeny bit, but this. We all got to sit, stand at the bar, which I've actually never done. I've always been sitting at one of the booths or one of the, middle tables. But to all just mosey up to the bar itself, the entire group, us and Jay, and just shoot the poodoo with the bartenders was so much fun. For me, that was beyond the best Oga's experience ever. And I wanted to just take a moment to just talk about the same and different cast that we had between the 2 voyages. The captain, we had a brand new captain this trip. We had the same Lenka Mock, who is sensational.
Fabulous.
Sammy, who was absolutely phenomenal again. Mm-hmm. I believe we had the same SK620.
We did. Same, and I actually like the moves a little bit better this time. It was good.
The Croy, we had the same Croy, and I adore this Harbin Croy, and he and I had a fun 2 different exchanges. One, me giving him some static, and the second one, a separate where he just phenomenally gave some static right back to me in perfect Croy fashion. But then the Wani performers, I think the physicality of this Wani performer, it's just gotten better since our first voyage.
Absolutely better. And nothing against the first Wani, but they've dialed it in.
They have dialed this in so much. I mean, in the performance with Gaia on night 1, maybe it's just that our seats weren't spectacular on the first voyage, and we had really good seats this time. But the synchronization between Wani and Gaia was so precise, so on point. And that this Wani performer is not doing a darned thing with this instrument that she has, but it sure looks like she is. It looks like she's playing this thing. The physicality was so perfect this time around. I gotta give a huge shout out to the skill that's required to do that. Who else was on this particular cast? We have to say we had the same Gaia, which was an absolute joy.
Yes.
We will always be there for any crew member or cast member that shows up in a role. We're always going to be there to support you 100%. But to see the same Gaia that Christine had such a connection with the first voyage back, that was joyous.
Yes.
But there's one other. Christine, you have to talk about.
Well, Wraith. You never ever forget your first Wraith.
Robbie.
And we absolutely loved Robbie. He was the whole reason we went down that scoundrel path the first time.
And he's the whole reason why he made that first voyage. I mean, again, people have heard the story a million times. I won't tell it again. But the fact that he was chosen to give us our medals, that at the end of the first voyage that you made for me, Martin, he
dubbed us Heroes of the Halcyon.
Yeah, he was the star for me for that first voyage. No 100%. Question.
Absolutely.
So this next Wraith had big shoes to fill.
He did, and he did a damn fine job. Jason Keller is fantastic as Wraith. Yeah, we were really nervous getting back on the ship, and within seconds, we knew we were going to be part of Wraith's crew.
Foregone conclusion. And again, I don't want to talk about some of the more private moments, but it was something that this Wraith did that was just something special. Is he knew how to pull you aside and just have these private, wonderful moments where it's just us and him.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt that, my God, is he a handsome man. So there's that. But the other thing that's fabulous is he, and Robbie had this too, but I don't know if it's the character of Wraith. I don't know what they do, but there's some flippin' secret that they've learned that, again, you walk off that ship just like 200 other people, and Wraith is your best friend, and you're gonna go into battle for him. You're gonna steal something for him. You're gonna swindle somebody for him. It was amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely
amazing.
Sensational. So I just a huge thank out, not just to the cast, the entire crew, but Christine, what was another moment that for a rapid fire that you could give a shout out to?
Yeah, I mean, really going back to the crew. I mean, it's so easy to forget that the crew is there to play too. You know, they've got their jobs to do that they do through, that are specific to, their Disney career path. But they're there to play too. And it was amazing, just like Martin talked about Belle, there were so many other cast members that were willing to go down the rabbit hole with us. And everybody knows, when you have to go to work, the more fun you can have at work, the better your days are. So do what you can to make their days better too. It just enhances your time on the ship.
The purity of their performances, and I'm talking about the crew, not the cast. Like, there was moments where I genuinely was losing track of reality. Like, oh, that person really likes Jorg Sakul. And I'm like, Jorg Sakul's not real. Polly the Porg isn't real. None of this is real.
Well, I will say that it helped that you made Polly the Porg keychains and was handing those out as trinkets, because those turned out so great.
That was a lot of fun. So I had, my in-universe thing was there was so much unsold Polly the Porg merchandise that please help take these off my hands. If my Polly the Porg warehouse of merch had been on Hosnian Prime when it exploded,
you wouldn't have to worry about it.
At least something good would have came out of that. But yeah, the whole crew was wanting these keychains. But the purity and the commitment that they showed to our three characters and our scenarios that we gave them was just something I am so grateful for. Again, only on Galactic Starcruiser could that happen.
Well, there was one more thing. I know that we're in the rapid fire section, but there was one other moment that you have to call out, Martin.
Yeah, at the very end, after the finale happens and everyone's high-fiving the cast and hugging the cast, it was just such a beautiful, pure moment. One of the primary cast, again, I don't want to name names in case there's, but just pulled me close and just whispered in my ear, "Heroes of the Halcyon." And what a beautiful, just quick, fast, just validation of what we're trying to do. We're trying to just tell people about how awesome this experience is, and to know that they know what we're doing was such a gratifying moment. And of course, I told Drew, and his response was,
"Yeah, I may have said a few expletives, and I said the thing
very
I said,
loudly,
and I said it. Yeah, I just said it, but I said it." And then, because I was so excited, I then said it a second time, even louder. And we're in the middle of the atrium, and my 14-year-old son goes, "Dad, there are kids around." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I was so mortified that I may have let a couple of expletives out. But yeah, what a great moment.
But we're just so grateful for just that acknowledgement. Meant so much. We got to meet people that listen to this podcast. That was so much fun. The crew knows what we're doing. And we have huge plans for Voyage number 3 in 2023.
That's, again, May 3rd, 4th, and 5th next year.
For the May the 4th Be With You voyage. But I'm just going to lay the tracks down right now. Jorg Sakul's been a good guy for the first 2 voyages, but I am going full burn the ship down mode for for Voyage number 3. We're going to turn this into villains of the Halcyon for Voyage number 3.
That's awesome. I'm right there with you. I can't wait to be on Lieutenant Croy's crew. That's really the only part of the missions that I haven't explored. And just to be a part of his crew and help wreak havoc on those poor resistance suckers is going to be a lot of fun.
So where's your loyalties going to lie this time, Christine? Is Molly Fassant going to be a First Order, or is she going to be something else entirely?
Stay tuned. I'll let
Dun,
you
dun,
know.
dun.
So we have a whole other season to look forward to and just lots of good stuff. But in the meantime, Christine, if people wanted to get in touch with us, maybe give us some show ideas, talk about their experiences on the Halcyon, where would they reach us?
You can always reach us by Gmail at heroesofthehalcyon@gmail.com. But stay tuned to Instagram at Heroes of the Halcyon, Twitter at Halcyon_Heroes, and YouTube, Heroes of the Halcyon.
Well, it's always fun to shoot the poodoo with all the Starcruiser superfans out there. So until next voyage, it's our honor. Let's raise our glasses with the Halcyon toast. To Booty Tang!